Guys, I really hope this buff works, because this character is not useful anywhere right now. And she has such a great design too. I really, really hope this buff works before I get into this video. So there's my bias showing. Alright, so here are the changes that are coming for Otillie here. Tillie, maybe that's how you say it. So essentially, her one, it's basically still useless. I don't know why they didn't buff it at all, for the most part. It's a single target, chance to make enemy unhealable for 2 turns, which, in general, not that useful overall for most things. Her 2 is a passive. It is going to be buffed so that all allies receive 30% less damage from AoE attacks, and does not stack with any other effect. 30%, so let's say you got, say, a Arbiter Vildred that for whatever reason he can do once he gets up 9,000 damage to your team. Assuming the math is correct, then this is going to take it down to 9,000. That's going to go down to 6,300, which is more manageable. Fairly significant chunk. That's assuming that the programmer math all works. Which, of course, you gotta factor in defense and debuffs and all that type of thing. So hopefully that'll make a good difference. And mana release. Now this skill is going to be changed so that not only is it an AoE that decreases combat readiness. Let me get the exact. Going to at max decrease combat readiness by 40%, which it already does, and make the enemy unable to be buffed. And it will also be adding a silence debuff for 2 turns. Now, unfortunately, the drawback I see for this skill, the soul burn effects skill cooldown is decreased by 2 turns. You know, at the beginning of a fight, especially in PvP, that's not going to really be that useful because a lot of people don't have the spare souls. But maybe it'll be something. I would rather see something like ignore effect resistance because we've all been effect resistance cooped, you know, multiple times in our game experience where something went perfect except bleep, effect resistance, screw you. So as far as PvE usefulness, don't see it outside of a few specific things where there's lots of AoE damage. PvP effectiveness, though, the problem is you are going to have to get her in a state where her 3 is always going to be effective and she's tanky enough to survive long enough to deal damage, or excuse me, to get her 3 off. So are you going to be at that point with your account where you're willing to invest in her to make her either tanky enough or speedy enough to get this effect off? For the silence, the unable to be buffed, and the decrease in combat readiness. And to be honest, there are a lot of decreased combat readiness, you know, really fast speed characters in the higher brackets of PvP. So maybe this will be one that people will see once this gets to 3-turn cooldown. Essentially, if you can get the 10 souls early on, you can essentially cast this skill twice. Which, I don't see why you would need to, but I don't know, maybe the damage coefficient will make it pretty crazy. But overall, as far as a recommendation on her goes, I'm definitely going to say you're going to want to go the speedier route just to decrease the combat readiness of the enemy team and silence them, unable to be buffed. So a speed set, and you should probably get her a little bit tanky as well. So either immunity to make sure that she's going to be able to cast, assuming someone else speeds her, or, you know, make her a little bit tankier with vitality or what have you. And you will be able to kind of increase your team. I'm a little bit tepid on her just because I'm not sure she's going to make a meta difference. But she does have a good skills. Silence and unable to be buffed are great skills that counter a lot of meta things that people do in PvP right now. So then you're like, okay, well, what about the artifact then? That's where it gets a little bit murky. Assuming if you have an Abyssal Crown, unless you specifically want her to have it, which you might, you know, like I said, you could probably get the double ult off at the beginning of combat if you really want to. You could have her go and then instantly have a combat resor or combat readiness booster, but you could also, most people want their combat readiness for their killers, their Arbiter Vildreds or their Bloodblade Karens or whatever they were using to kill. So at that point then, well, maybe we're going to go Caladra, or not Caladra, Sierra Wren. so that you could get those additional debuffs on. So decrease attack, hit chance, silence, sleep, poison. And then at that point, it really kind of becomes, unless you're going to run her with maybe Tangahals, which you only really needed at base in order to guarantee that she can get double ulti, assuming she survives to her second turn. And that's pretty much it. I mean, all these other ones, they're decent. Necro Undyne's decent. There's some combat readiness after an AoE attack, but I really hope this character does well. I'm thinking she's actually probably going to be more useful in guild battle, the 3v3 setup, when you know that you're fighting against a pure AoE team. I could see her being really good there. As far as typical PvP, maybe. There's just so many good combos, though, and a lot of AoE spammage that, yes, she does counter it to a point, but is it enough to guarantee her a spot on your team and gear investment and Molagora investment? I'm just not sure right now, guys, to be perfectly honest. I hope that she is, though. I hope that she is. But I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure I'm there. So, anyways, let's get back to her here. And then as far as skill upgrades go, guys, if you're going to do the double ulti thing, like I said, you're going to want to at least get this down to skill cooldown. If you can do the bonus combat readiness knockback, get that to 40%. That'll be really good. Damage is probably negligible. And then, of course, you want to get this maxed as high as possible. You can ignore 1 pretty much because it's pretty much useless. And that's going to be it, guys. So I'm hoping this character gets in the meta because, like I said, her design's really cool. She seems like a really... a niche that needs to be filled. I just don't know if she's strong enough to fill it. We'll see. But hopefully, if you guys are planning on running her, let me know. If you got a counter build for her, let me know. If you use her already, let me know. And I'll see you guys later on. Peace out.